what your interview really reinforces for me is that change as far as veteran services doesn't come out of the generosity of elected officials. It's because veterans like yourself, like Dellums, who's a black veteran from the Korean War, you guys fought, you organized, you pushed for reform. So I want to go back to 1975. You're incarcerated at Lorton Reformatory, which I learned afterwards was a 99% black
Yeah.
population. I really want to go back to that moment. Washington Post published an article that highlighted the work that you were doing. And this brings national attention to what you were doing in 1975.
Yeah, Washington Post broke the story. You're
Tell
right.
me about how did you go to the White House? Who invited you? You were currently incarcerated at the time, correct?
That's right.
So you were released to go meet with President Carter. Tell me about that. Like, how did that happen?
Well, knowing Bill Lawson, and he understood what veterans was facing, incarcerated veterans. I mean, that just piqued his interest. He started doing initiating a lot of ideas and thoughts of his own, activities and events. And one of them was trying to get the recognition of my work in prison. That's what the reason. That's what the basic push was from him, because he saw that what we was doing inside of prisons for veterans had never been done before, and it had such a great impact on families and and communities and stuff of that nature, and the individual veterans themselves who happen to be in prison now, and they finally got some resources they can do something with once they return. And so I think it was Bill Lawson out of President Carter's office that really understood the moment, and that's what happened. He understood the moment, and I think he may have facilitated that article that came out in the Washington Post. You see, although we was constantly communicating with news people all over the country, but I think he facilitated that. I'm gonna give him that particular success story, and I really salute him. Even to this day, I think he's the one that did it all for me in terms of the White House. And this was not just my attending going to the White House. It was actually getting acknowledged by the president himself, right? Over a handshake, right? In a very public environment event that they had at the White House for veterans. And so that's how it all started.
So President Carter, after you guys met, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but he did issue a presidential directive to the Department of Justice, and because the president ordered the Department of Justice to start collecting information on incarcerated veterans, they had a series of studies. So there was the first one was published in 1981. It was conducted in 1979. So this is a direct result of Carter ordering the Department of Justice to start collecting information on incarcerated veterans. So we've had 5 or 6 of those since then. They did one in 2016. They published that in 2021. So the only reason why the federal government really knows anything at all about incarcerated veterans, I think, as a historian, I would hypothesize that you brought this attention to the President Carter. Carter issued this order to the Department of Justice to start doing these studies, and there's been 5 or 6 of them since then. So that is a direct, ongoing legacy of the activism that you did in prison.